welcome to your Resident Evil channel. Alright guys, this video is about the Wonder Woman 1984 movie review. Before we get into that, in case you're one of the people who are waiting for me to announce my giveaway, I will be officially putting up the giveaway winners on Monday. You still have a chance, so don't forget to definitely sign up for my Harry Potter giveaway. Go check out that video. Here, alright, let's dive in. So, this is going to be the review. Part of this video is going to be kind of the review without too many spoilers, and another part will be with all the spoilers. So if you're wondering, just get to the point, straight to the point, in case you're just wondering, should I go to the theaters? Right now you're just debating, should I go buy a ticket right now to the theater? Should I buy HBO in case you don't already have it? What should I do? If you don't already have HBO and you're debating whether or not to go to the movie theaters and possibly get COVID, do not go. It is not, it's not worth even the minimal risk that it would be if you were to go with your mask on and keep it on throughout the whole movie. It's not worth paying that extra money to get HBO just for this movie. If there's other movies on HBO, other shows on HBO that you want to go see, honestly some other DC animated movies you should go see on HBO, definitely get HBO for those, but not for this movie. It's not worth it. It was the action for me. It was the lovesick woman part for me. I mean, we saw it in the trailer. If you haven't already seen it, Steve Trevor comes back. I'm just like, you know, it was the lack of a good plot. And the lack of a, coherent plot as well. You know, and so it was just so many things that they missed the mark. And I think partly it was they were trying to do too many things. And I couldn't help but I was watching Wonder Woman 1984. I couldn't help think of the Mulan action remake that Disney made. And I was just like, this is having almost the same key, like, hitting the wall components. And it, honestly, go check out my Mulan review. You will see that there are just, like, certain, like, almost, like, intertwining, like, themes that I just think that they were totally missing on and what they were trying to do. So, that's pretty much all the, like, non-spoilers that I can give you for 1984. But let's dive into just going into depthly. And I also want to talk about a little bit about my experience with Wonder Woman and who she was. So I grew up watching, like, at the time where, like, I was watching Justice League of the American Justice League or Justice League of America or something. The Justice League animated TV show. I'll put the poster here so you guys know. It was like around the 90s, like early 2000s. I think it was early 2000s, you know, that show. And I grew up watching that. And that was how I was introduced to superheroes. That was my introduction to superheroes. Plus Batman Beyond, you know. So, and I remember watching that Justice League version, and I remember seeing Wonder Woman. She wasn't really this powerful girl, you know. She was also a little bit annoying. She was really this woman who just sometimes, like, the male superheroes had to sometimes, like, help her out because she wasn't as strong as them. She's an Amazon, but again, so for me, Wonder Woman wasn't this, like, amazing character until Wonder Woman. Then, you know, Patty Jenkins was the very first the movie, you know, with Gal Gadot. This one was an amazing movie, you know. So I was so excited for the 1984 movie. I really was. Until I saw the trailer. Until I saw the DC fandom. You guys go check out my DC fandom with the Wonder Woman version. I talk about, like, my hesitation because literally, as I'm watching the DC fandom, I watched all of it. I watched Batman, I watched Black Adam, Shazam, I watched all of that. And honestly, literally everyone was like, this is going to be something cool, it's going to happen, we're going to bring this element into this movie, we're going to talk about this in Batman, we're going to add this, like, we're going to make him a detective, which today we haven't seen in the movie, and yada yada yada. And I'm like, okay, and literally, the only thing that they could say in the Wonder Woman, all they talked about was the action. No one talked about the plot. And that was so concerning for me, because I was just like, honestly, I'm not the type of person that goes to go see a superhero movie for the action. I go for the plot, you know? And I know that there's sometimes for a superhero movie, there's going to be a lot of action. There's going to be a lot of fight scenes. And yes, I do expect them to be well done because that's pretty much what we all expect. But for me, that's not why I go. I go for, like, the storyline, for the themes, for all of that, because I really love that part. And for me, the story is such an integral part of any movie. So, no matter how, like, you know, you guys might be like, but that's not what superheroes are, like, movies are supposed to be. For me, that's still there. So for me, when I saw Wonder Woman, the first one, we saw this beautiful, amazing woman, a character, a superhero, who not only was she strong and forceful and literally was a male equivalent superhero in every aspect, she was also very feminine. She was very compassionate, very loving, very girly, and I'm just like, it's you always see one or the other. Like I also played Injustice, and you see that Wonder Woman. She's just as strong. You almost see her like not denouncing her femininity, but it wasn't like as like expressive as it was in Wonder Woman, you know. And femininity can just be in the docile way, because yes, those are kind of like little like adjectives that we put into femininity, and femininity is a broad spectrum, just like sexuality and everything else. I understand that, but in particularly, especially right now, where women are embracing whether the choice of whether or not shaving their legs is like growing out their armpit hair, deciding to go like 100% no makeup, not just the no makeup look, 100% no makeup versus like a full glam makeup, and having that controversy versus never wearing heels versus wearing heels all the time, and just going through that dynamic, which is something that as women we deal with on a daily basis, and what it is, you know, to kind of like, you know, and I think as a woman, I know I go through sometimes certain moments, certain friends where I'm like, should I tone down my makeup? Certain areas, certain like environments, I'm like, should I tone down my makeup? Should I put it back on? Should I wear heels? Should I not wear heels? Should I like, you know, because I'm the type of girl that I love to play with makeup. I love to wear heels. If I can wear heels every day, that's great, you know, but I also like to be like, I'm also very independent. I also like to take care of my own business. I'm like, I don't need you. I like to do my business, you know? And that was the superhero that we saw. We saw Wonder Woman being all those things and so much more, which is what I loved about her. You know, she was also someone who was very strong-headed, you know. She would listen to Steve Trevor. She was like, I need to go find Ares, you know. She was also couldn't believe in the atrocities of humanity could be. She was a very hopeful superhero. And especially with like all like these new superheroes, including Batman, as much as I love the Batman movies and almost every single interpretation of the Batman that has come out thus far, he's a very dark character. So he kind of like this, it's not that he destroys him, it's just he gives a darker interpretation of a lot of humanity, versus she was very hopeful. And then of course and then her hope for humanity gets destroyed by the end of the movie, which is so cool, because again, she's just like, that's not humanity, that's Ares, that can only be Ares. You see what's going on here. Ares has to be behind this. You know, she couldn't believe that people could be so cruel. And by the end of it, she's like, kind of turns into Batman in a sense, where she was just like, humanity can be very, very cruel. But then when she sees Steve Trevor's sacrifice, she's like, but they can also be very beautiful. And she's like, they can be so much more. I mean, I loved the first movie. And it had all the elements of a beautiful superhero story arc, her kind of like growing into her powers as well, because you see as she's jumping, like the very first thing she's jumping to get the sword, she's jumping, she's like, I didn't know I could do this. Like you could just totally see her like stumbling on her powers while at the same time embracing them, or like, this is what I have to do, and taking leadership and ownership. And that's when I was like, it was the second movie where you're just kind of looking at her and you're like, what is going on? Because first of all, based on Batman versus Superman, based on her own movie, and what was it? It was just, and what was it? Justice League? I believe, you know, they talk about how she stayed out of the line of fire for everything. Like the last point where she was really active in humanity, where she was really like, you know, in the moment of like being a superhero, was World War One, you know. And it's implied that it's because she has like she loses some of her faith in humanity when that moment, which is why she's like, I need to take a step back. Okay, so that's why I was like, why in 1984? But it seems like apparently in this movie she had continued her journey being Wonder Woman, had continued saving people. But I'm like, you're gonna tell me that Bruce only found that one picture of you in World War One, but he couldn't find any other seems to be record or something? And it was just such a confusing movie. Like I was just like, I don't even know what you guys are doing here. And so she still has hope in humanity. She's still being a superhero, but not a superhero. She decides to stay back, and then, you know, it is just, and I'm like, she's so lost in that moment where I'm like, even I'm lost with her. I'm like, I don't even know what you're trying to do here. I'm like, maybe we'll get some more clarity later on. Okay, she meets Barbara, you know, there's like seems to be like a little, like, I'm not gonna lie, some sexual tension there. And I'm like, okay, we're going that route. That's great. You know, and then that totally gets destroyed because like because Barbara just loves being hit on by anything that moves, apparently. I mean, I'm like, okay. And then, like, the way the wishing stone, you literally gave us a wishing stone here, and the guy wishes for more wishes, and I'm just like, this is the plot that we're going with. This is how Steve Trevor comes back. And then, why did they make him come back in somebody else's body? That was also ridiculous. I'm like, at this point, you're already bringing him back. Let's just bring him back completely. Why are you making him somebody else's body? And then you're wasting our time with that, because instead of focusing on how Barbara becomes a cheetah, because even so, like if you go into the New 52 origin story of of Cheetah, it's just Cheetah. I want to say Chitara. I'm just Thundercats mixing in here. Of Cheetah mixing in here, and you're just like, wait, you're gonna go through a wish. But the New 52 version of how she was in this cult of hunters, which is very similar to the Amazons, because as great and as like, you know, utopian as the Amazons are themselves, it can maybe even be a little culty by the fact that like no men are allowed there or anything. So it's kind of like the evil, like, you know, the whole other side of that coin for Barbara. And I'm like, we could have done that, you know. And I only needed Cheetah to be the villain, you know, because how cool would that have been? Like, it's not about like, and I hated that, like, I hate the fact that like we're now like we can't have true women villains without giving them some sort of like savior moment or anything like that. Again, that's what's like Mulan, they try to make the female villain, like her counterpart, have like a redemption story, which it didn't make real sense to me, because I'm like, sometimes people can just be evil, and that's what sometimes superhero things versus. And again, even Pedro Pascal in this one, he also had like this weird redemption story, which I also hated, because I'm like, so you're telling me this man who pretty much almost destroyed the whole world gets to have a happy ending with his son? And we're back to square one with Wonder Woman, where like literally the movie was just like all these insane things happen, mass missiles get transferred, you know, political, like random political stuff is where they are being discussed in this movie, and then all of a sudden it all goes away. It just disappears by the act of one wish, because I'm just like, you know, it was they were just doing too much, and they try to do it in such little time, you know, and it was just and none of the villains actually seemed good enough for this movie, where it was just like Barbara is just like, I just want to be pretty, and I'm just like, that's all I want. And I'm just like, no, villains can be more complex. Like, they can even think that what they're doing for humanity is good because they're doing it for humanity. You know, they're like, oh, well, I need to rule the world, because if I rule the world, everything's gonna be okay. You know, they could have gone that route. And again, I just didn't like why Pedro Pascal was there. You know, I love him in The Mandalorian. I think he's great in The Mandalorian. But I just didn't. I love also in Game of Thrones, but I just don't understand why he was there. Like literally, every time he showed up on the screen, he annoyed me. I hated the way he talked. I hated his hair. I hated his motivation. I just want power. Yes, there are people like that, but I'm like, you couldn't make Cheetah that. Cheetah could have been the one who did all of that. We didn't need Pedro. We didn't need two random villains, right? Because on top of that, the fight sequence, like there was, you know, first of all, they have like Cheetah and Wonder Woman like have that first like fight. They're about to have that fight in the White House, but Wonder Woman is weak, so then it's not even a fair fight. So it's really not that good of a fight either. It wasn't until finally she puts on the gold armor, sacrifices Steve Trevor to save the world, and they really, and even that, like saying goodbye to Steve Trevor, that was horrible. The way she did it, the what, just that was just a horrible way. Goodbye, Trevor, and then she runs off, and then I'm just like. And then he says at a distance, I will always love you. And we don't even see that. And I'm like, what is this? And then Cheetah, and then she goes fight Cheetah in the gold armor. And even that, also, that fight, I was like, what is that? What fight was that? It was literally a 3-second fight. I wasn't even paying attention. It was, like, they did decide to make it at night for some reason. It was bad, you know? And they made Cheetah silver? Like, why? She's like, in the comic, she has black and, like, you know, has, like, a nice, what is it, orange hue tint. It's nice, you know. I'm like, you couldn't do that, but we got decide to do like a weird white leopard thing. Okay, but I did like her makeup. I'm not gonna lie, like I like the way that they did it, you know. So like Wonder Woman pulled her by the hair, I'm like, we really had to do that, like have the hair pulling there. You know, and it was just, you know, and then she goes to fight, which is the ultimate boss, which is Pedro. I don't even remember his character's name. That's how bad this thing was. I don't remember his gimmick, like Pedro just like, and then like she ends up like by the wind. It seemed like, or what was it? Wishes? I don't even know what that like Air Force was that she couldn't get to him for some reason. It wasn't until the lasso of truth, and I was just like, and then she's like, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to everybody. And I'm like, wait, are they broadcasting right now then? If like you took away the camera. And none of it made sense. Like, I'm literally there so confused at what's going on. And I'm like, what is even happening? It was just such a limited movie. And I think that what they're trying to do also, this movie was a way to still stay within the storyline, to still keep up with the Schneider cut, whatever they're trying to do, because I still think that they're trying to keep, Diana was still trying to be low key and still keep up with that. And I'm like, at this point, what you guys should have done, postponed Wonder Woman. I loved Wonder Woman as much as the next girl, but right now you guys have ruined her. And it wasn't even ruining her, it was just ruining her movie, just like that time lapse of her, like bringing Steve Trevor back for honestly no reason whatsoever except to see Chris Pine again. That was literally the only purpose I could see of bringing him back, because literally had nothing to do with the plot except for the fact that she was like, I miss my boyfriend, like that's it. And I'm just like, okay, that's the only reason we're bringing him back. To end on a lighter note on Wonder Woman, I will say this, that I really love the way that they decided to use her accessories more. I loved how she was using the whip a lot better, and honestly, creative ways of things, like, you know, you just have a picture in your head, you're like, oh, that's really cool. How they used her tiara, like, as the boomerang, you know? At first, I didn't really like her flying because I really thought that she needed the invisible jet to fly, but then I learned that, like, in the New 52, that she does fly now, so I was like, oh, okay, fine, okay. Alright, so they decided to give her that power, which is really cool, I guess, as well, you know, to see her. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I guess just, I like the way that they enhanced her abilities, which is why I guess everyone was talking about only the action sequences, because honestly, once again, Gal Gadot is the only saving grace in this movie, but even she couldn't save the train wreck that this movie was, so... That is my full review on Wonder Woman. I do not recommend still. So thank you for watching Resident Evil channel. Hopefully, maybe there'll be a third Wonder Woman movie that will be 1,000 times better, and I can have some words with Patty Jenkins. Oh! Actually, I forgot one good thing about the movie. One more good thing. We got to see the original Wonder Woman, Linda Carter, as apparently an Amazon. So maybe there will be a third Wonder Woman movie, because she's apparently like Artemis or something, and I think that'd be cool to kind of see the original Wonder Woman with Gal Gadot, and seeing how they interact. I think that'd be cool, which is why I understand why they brought her back for the DC fandom as well. So that was pretty cool. So, and also because I do live around where like they were filming, it was nice to kind of see that as well. But yeah, that's pretty much the setting was great. The random actions, you know, yeah, that's pretty much the three good takeaways you can take it from that movie. Because other than that, Wonder Woman, oh my goodness, you know, it wasn't that good. Alright, you guys, thank you for watching Resident Evil. Bye!